It was my joy. Many of you may have seen on the night of the Democratic convention, and when I officially accepted the nomination to be the vice presidential nominee, I talked about what family is to me. And I mentioned family being, of course, the family I was born into, family being the family that I have chosen, my godchildren and others. And I talked about the Divine Nine family. And it was interesting because, when you and all my fellow members of the CBC, I thank you. I love you. We work so hard together every day. And they know this experience that when you take these stages, it is an opportunity often to educate people about the history of America, a history that they should know, but sometimes need a little learning. And to talk about the Divine Nine and the family of the Divine Nine was a particular source of joy and honor for me. Because as we all know, the sororities and fraternities that make up the Divine Nine were founded on the principle of scholarship and the principle of faith fueling our responsibility in service to all mankind. Ours is a family of leaders who have been national and international leaders. Ours is a family in the Divine Nine of people who have excelled and have shown in every sector of our country and our world what can be unburdened by what has been. That's who we are. And whether we are graduates and members of alumni chapters or students, and I know there are many on this call, we have been charged as part of the responsibility that comes with the benefit and the joy of being a member of the Divine Nine. We have been charged with the responsibility to live in a righteous way as the legacy of those who founded our organizations, all with an understanding that we would go on to lead and never ask anyone permission to do that. And so when I think about this moment and this election, which the end of the election is in 5 days, I think we know, and everyone is on this call because this is a call of leaders, knowing that these final days and all of the days leading up to them have been a call for us to continue to do what we do in furtherance of service to all mankind and to our country and the country we love. And the stakes couldn't be higher. We are in the midst of at least 4 crises in our country. There is a public health crisis that has killed over 225,000 people in just the last several months. Over 8.5 million people have contracted this virus. And the numbers include the fact that Black folks are 3 times as likely to contract COVID and twice as likely to die from it. There has been so much about this pandemic that, in my opinion, has been an accelerator in that it has highlighted and magnified what was wrong before and made it worse. And so when we think about what is at stake in this election, it includes on that subject what we need in terms of leadership that embraces science, that takes on a role of responsibility, that is informed by fact, and that then displays itself through speaking truth in a way that has as its purpose to heal. And that is before us then in this election. We look at the financial crisis, at economic devastation that's being compared to the Great Depression. And then again, looking at the impact on all communities, but with a particular emphasis I will make on the Black community and what we have seen in terms of our small businesses. I've seen numbers that tell me almost 50%, almost half of our small businesses have closed with potentially a very small prospect of reopening. And what we know is that our businesses are part of the lifeblood, the economic lifeblood of our communities. What we know, and so many members of the Divine Nine are exactly those business leaders, that they are not only business leaders, but they are community leaders, civic leaders. They are the role models. They are the mentors. We look at the impact that we are, where we are in terms of the challenges we are facing now, in terms of a long overdue reckoning on racial injustice in America, and what we must do to fight, to again speak truth about the history of this country, to speak truth in a way that Joe Biden is not afraid to do, to say Black Lives Matter, but to do it also understanding that it is not just about what we deal with today, but it's about also speaking truth about how we got here and what we need to do to fix it. And that is a conversation that we have been having, that we are willing to have, which is going forward, leaders acknowledging the fact of systemic racism and what we need to do to address it. And then, of course, there's the climate crisis. As you all know, I was born in Oakland, California. I represent the state of California in the Senate. We've seen up and down the West Coast, states burning with these wildfires. The Gulf Coast states right now, the Zeta, not Zeta Phi Beta, but Zeta, which has is the fifth storm to be named just this year. You know, they name storms only because it's that bad that they name it. So when we talk about the climate crisis, I was meeting when I was last in Michigan with the leaders in Flint. And so on the climate crisis, we know that we are talking about folks that are being beat up by this extreme changes in weather, and that it disproportionately affects communities of color. In fact, the numbers that I've seen of all Americans who live in low air quality areas, 70% are people of color. So these are just some of the crises that we are facing right now. But we also, in a moment of crisis, should see a moment of opportunity. And part of the opportunity at this moment comes with our ability to organize folks around the vote. And I'll just speak briefly on that, and then I'll end my comments. But I have been traveling all over our country. Just in the last week and a half, I've been to Michigan. I've been to North Carolina. I was in Florida. Yesterday, I was in Arizona. The day before, I was in Nevada, Ohio. You know, you name it, right? And what I will say is this. Not only is there a longstanding history, but there is a recent history of very concerted efforts to try and suppress our vote. Very purposeful efforts to try and confuse folks around how to vote, whether to vote, whether they can trust the system. And I do believe there are 3 reasons for everybody to vote in this election, and always. One is to honor the ancestors. People like our late great hero and now one of the ancestors, John Lewis, a member of the Divine Nine, who of course shed his blood on that Edmund Pettus Bridge. It is important to honor the ancestors and vote for that reason. It is important to vote because the stakes couldn't be higher. And it is important to vote back to this point of voter suppression and intimidation, because we should ask, why are so many powerful people trying to make it so difficult for us to vote? Trying to suppress the vote, purge voter rolls, make it confusing, mess with the post office. We could even have a long conversation about what that is, right? And the post office being one of the first employers of Black federal workers in America and part of what helped build the middle class, but I'm not gonna go on that. But we have to ask, why are they so powerful people trying to make it so difficult for us to vote? And here's what I believe the answer is. Because they know our power. They know when we vote, things change. They know when we vote, we win. And so among the reasons to vote is because we should never be in a position of allowing anybody to take our voice and our power from us. And after all, isn't that part of the reason our founders created this vehicle through which we would convene in fellowship, convene together to find each other and to create a place for us to be together, to remind us we are not alone and that we have purpose and that we have agency and that we have a dream that we must fulfill based on self-determination and action. And so that's what I believe is before us. And I thank all of the leaders for being on this call. All of my dear friends from the Congressional Black Caucus and my colleagues. Let's get this done, 5 days. And you can also join us. We have phone banks that are going to be going. You can text AFAM, short for African American, AFAM, at 30330. And let's just activate everybody and then get this thing done so we can get to work when this election is over. And again, thank you. And Frederica, thank you for that beautiful introduction. Thank you.